Hello everyone, this is Cameron and welcome to another video. Today we're going to do an album review, and the album we're reviewing is an album that celebrates its 60th anniversary on Wednesday coming, and that is of course the Beatles and Help. So in this video I'm just going to go over the album's history, background, what was going on with the Beatles at the time, show you my copies of the album, go over each track individually, and give the album as a whole a marking out of 10. That's pretty much the norm in these album reviews. Now, one thing I want to kind of say is that I haven't done as much album reviews as I would like, probably because I just wasn't sure what to review, but I have had a few ideas that, because normally in the past I've done one a month sometimes, but kind of hasn't happened really this time around this year because just, apparently other videos came up and, different ideas came up as well, so yeah, that's kind of how it happened. So, anyways, today we're going to be reviewing Help because it'll be 60 on Wednesday. So in this video we're going to go over each track individually, show you my copies of the album, and give each track as a whole a marking out of 10, as I said. So, this was the Beatles' 5th studio album, released on the 6th of August 1965 on Parlophone. Now, 64 had been a very busy year for the Beatles, as I stated in the Beatles for Sale video, and it was really at a point when the Beatlemania was starting to wear on the Beatles a bit. After they completed their run of Christmas shows at the end of 1964 into early 65, they took most of January off and then went to the studio in February to begin recording some songs, and then they went to the Bahamas to start their next film, which was to be titled 8 Arms to Hold You, but then it was later renamed Help. They recorded the album in about 10 sessions from about February through to March, April and May. They kind of worked it around their touring schedules and all their filming commitments as well, because the Beatles played some concerts in between in Spain as well, and France, and even did the NME Poll Winners concert in the April of 65. So just give me a minute while I turn the light on in here, it's getting a bit dark. That's a bit better. So as I say, so 65 was also a bit of a busy year as well, as they were filming their next film with Richard Lester, who had, I think, done the Hard Day's Night film the previous year. And also in this time, Ringo had gotten married to Maureen Starkey early in 65. And the Beatles also in June were given the OBEs, MBEs, Member of the British Empire, which was the first time a British group had been given that honour. And a week after this album, the Beatles then went to America for a 2-week tour, and during which they met Elvis Presley. So yeah, a lot was going on in 65 as well. The album was, as I say, released on the 6th of August 1965. It reached #1 in the UK and #1 in America. And in America, it had a different track listing and a different cover, because the American edition was the soundtrack version of the film with incidental music from the film, which I don't have on vinyl yet, but would like to get. But I have it on CD in the US albums box, which I probably should have showed, but what can you do? But anyway, here's my copy of the album. Here's the front cover. Great cover with the semaphores. I've also got my Help shirt on, as you can probably see. I dressed for this this video. There's the back cover. Open up like this. This is in a resealable sleeve now. I'm kind of hoping to put all my records from polythene into these sort of resealable sleeves, which I bought in a charity shop up in Irvine not that long ago. Some of my Beatles are in these sleeves now, and I'm hoping to kind of put all my records in these sleeves now at some point or another. Anyway, this is an original mono pressing from 1965 in very good condition. This is one of my early Beatle records. I had another copy before, but the record ended up breaking in a sort of an accident, so I got another copy. This is that second copy. There's the songs there. The album's focused on the songs from the film, and the other side is kind of studio songs they recorded between the February and June of 1965. Here's the original inner sleeve, and we're on the yellow Parlophone label, like we were with the previous albums. There we are. It's in very good condition, and it plays well all the way through, because I played it last night to review this this album. So there's that one. So yeah, really nice to find that one, the original mono. Also got the album on CD as well. This one is the Stereo 2009 Remasters. If you're going to get any Beatles catalogue, then you get the Beatles stereo box set if you can find it. but I know they're kind of beginning to re-release. They have been beginning to re-release a lot of the albums in a sort of deluxe edition format, so might not be needed as much now, but still really cool to own. There's the back. They've kept it much the same as the original. I know in some cases in the 2009 remastered CDs they often change the kind of cover art a bit. And it reproduces the original Parlophone label, much like the original. And it comes with a nice booklet. Some nice pictures there. It's a nice picture in the back. And what I like about these 2009 remasters is that in addition to you getting pictures from each era of the Beatles, it also gives you the historical notes, what was going on during the Beatles time frame of the album, and it gives you the recording notes, because those bits are always quite interesting to know. So anyway, here's the historical notes. And oh, that's my phone going there. So the version on this CD is the 2009 remaster, as I say, but it's actually been done from the stereo digital master tapes, which George Martin did when Help was first issued on CD in 1987. I don't know why they couldn't have used the original mixes for the album, but you know, that's what ended up happening. Back, as I say, nice picture. And there we have the mono version from the 2009 box set, which unfortunately I don't have a legit copy of the mono box, but you know, it's still doable. But it does come with the 1965 stereo mix, so it's definitely worth picking up for that, as well as having the original mono version. And I've also got Help, the film on DVD, which was released in 2007. This is a 2 DVD set. Fortunately, my copy has like a sort of cut thing, which I'm not too sure what that's all about, but hope to find another copy at some point without the sort of cut. But I got it years ago. The film I've not yet seen, but I should hopefully sit down and watch it at some point. Haven't seen all the Beatles films yet, but I should hopefully sit down and watch them at some time or another. And there's a few singles from the album, which I'll show during the video when I talk about the songs. So, we're going to start with the album. So we start the album with Help, with a John Lennon Paul McCartney song. Really great song. I really like the hell. I like the guitars to it and the vocals. And a lot of Beatles fans have often said that this is one of John's kind of cry for help songs. And John has said in interviews that this was written as a cry for help when the fame was really beginning to take its toll on him. That he often referred to it as his Fat Elvis period, where he felt kind of plump and really depressed. And this song was really written as a genuine plea for help. And it's one that I can definitely relate to sometimes in my life, when I've often kind of felt, oh, you know, a bit down and just sort of, you know. But yeah, definitely a great song. One that's and it was of course the title song of the film, the title song of the album. It was also issued as a single 2 weeks before the album was released in the July of '65. And I have 2 copies of it. Here's my one copy I have. The B-side was I'm Down, which is a great McCartney rocker. And there's another duplicate version of it. So yeah, Help reached #1 in the UK charts, and it was one the Beatles played on their '65 tour. You can hear it on the Shea Stadium film, as well as the Live at the Hollywood Bowl album. Also meant to point out in the background, during that tour, they performed a big stadium concert at Shea Stadium, which was said to be one of the biggest concerts in music history, one of the first sort of big stadium concerts before the kind of trend became big in the sort of 70s and into the 80s and even to recent years. So yeah, that was definitely one that the Beatles kind of set a trend of, let's say. So yeah, Help, great song, great vocal performance from John and from Paul and George. So yeah, really great one, Help, one of my favourites. Then we get The Night Before, a great one from Paul here. Paul sings the lead song, but Paul and George and John sort of help it back out, and John also plays the electric piano in this one. Great to know with the back cover of this album that you get to wee sort of points that, who did a little bit of extra instrumentation on the song, whether it was George Martin or whether it's a Beatle, or whether it's one of the Beatles. So yeah, The Night Before is great one. Paul's again great vocal, great lyrics, performance, great vocal again, and the backing from George and John I like as well. And so yeah, really good song. One that I really like quite a bit. The Night Before. I like the little kind of lyrics as well. Were you telling lies? We said our goodbyes the night before. Were you telling lies the night before? Treat me like you did the night before. So yeah, really great song. One of my favourite Beatles ones. Not one that you hear people talk about that often. And I think it's one that Paul might have played on one of his solo tours as well at some time or another. So yeah, really great song. Then we get You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, which is a song sung by John, and it's very kind of John's Bob Dylan-esque type of song, because the Beatles, as I stated in the Beatles for Sale video, were very heavily influenced by Bob Dylan, who was becoming a big sort of singer-songwriter, folk rock singer-songwriter, at this time, and yeah, definitely a really great song, one that I really like, and it's even got flutes as well. This even made the Beatles' 1962 to 1966 Red Album as well, so it definitely must have been a personal highlight for them. Actually, I don't think the Beatles were involved in that record, but anyway, really good song, You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, one of my favourite John songs, and John compositions as well. I even like the flutes at the end as well. Then we get I Need You. Now this is the second time that a George Harrison composition has made a Beatles album. The first, of course, was Don't Bother Me with the Beatles in 1963. And again, George shows that he can still write a great song. There was a George song that actually had been written during Beatles for Sale but never made the final album, and it was You Know What to Do. But this is the second time that a George composition got to be on a Beatles album. So yeah, I Need You is a great one. Great vocal performance from George, which he sings the lead on, and backing from John and Paul as well. And again, George's writing's great on this one as well. I Need You. Not one that you hear too often again, but still a really good song. Then we get Another Girl. This is one that Paul McCartney again sings the lead on. And Paul even plays guitar on this track as well. And again, John and George help on the backing of this one. Really like this one. Good song, but it's not one that I really hear that often apart from when I hear this album, which hasn't been for a long while, I must admit, but still a really good album. Still a really good song, rather, sorry. Kind of all over the place a lot, but yeah, good song, Another Girl. Then we get You're Gonna, and this is one that Paul in the intervening years has sang on his solo tours as well at different times. So yeah, good song, Another Girl. Then we get Ticket to... No, sorry, I'm skipping songs here now. Then we get You're Gonna Lose That Girl. Another one of my personal favourite highlights off this album. You're Gonna Lose That Girl. I really like John's vocal performance and the backing between George and Paul, and even the I'll make a point of taking, and even the backing on the watch what you do lines as well. So yeah, I really like that that song. One that I one of my personal favourite highlights from the Beatles catalogue. And then the final track on side one is Ticket to Ride. Now, Ticket to Ride was the first single off the album, released in April, and I do have a couple of copies of that as well. Here's Ticket to Ride. We're back with Yes It Is, a nice slow song with 3-part harmony, much like on This Boy. And this is my other copy of the single, which I got as a freebie from my local record store when I bought a few Beatles singles. But yeah, I really like the down guitar lick, one of the most distinctive guitar intro riffs as well, which is played by Paul. And this is one that John and Paul both sing together. Great lyrics as well, and John and Paul's backing harmony vocals as well is great on this track as well. And on a little note, the Beatles even appeared on a show called Doctor Who with this very song. Well, they didn't really, but it was more a pre-filmed insert. A pre-filmed insert on Top of the Pops that they played onto the that screen, and it's the only surviving clip is through that Doctor Who episode. So a little bit of culture fat there for you. So yeah, great song, Ticket to Ride. One of my favourite Beatle tracks, and one of my favourite of the hits. Reached #1 as a single, unsurprisingly. Then we turn it over to side 2 and we get Act Naturally. Now, Act Naturally is a song that Ringo sings on lead vocal on, and it was originally a song by Buck Owens. And Ringo, as we all know, is a big country fan, loves country music, as confirmed with Ringo's recent album, Look Up. But yeah, this is one that Ringo sings, and Ringo does a good job of singing. I know a lot of people like to bash Ringo as a kind of singer and drummer, but I think he's a good singer. I think he's got a good voice, I must say. And this is one that Paul McCartney sings with Ringo on, and Ringo would later do a solo version of this song with Buck Owens in 1989. I really like the kind of guitar from George, yeah, really good song. Even though it's a cover song, it's still a really, really good song. Well, I like. Then we get It's Only Love, sung by John. I like this one, but this would later make the American version of Rubber Soul later in 1965, which I'll touch upon that when I do my Rubber Soul anniversary video in December. But yeah, a really good song. This was one of the last things I think they recorded in the June of 65. But I really like this song. But John, however, was very critical of the song, saying it was a lousy song with abysmal lyrics. But I personally disagree. I think it's a good song. I like John's vocal on it and the guitar on it as well. And in 1981, Gary U.S. Bonds did a fantastic version of this song on his album Dedication, which I think he did a brilliant job on. If you haven't heard that, go onto YouTube and check out Gary U.S. Bonds singing It's Only Love. Really great version of that song. A really, really great version of that song. I think I like it a bit more than the original Beatles version, but still a good song nonetheless, the Beatles version as well. So yeah, really good song, It's Only Love. Then we get You Like Me Too Much, which is another George Harrison composition. It's the second George composition, one of 2 George songs on this album, I should have stated earlier. John plays electric piano, and Paul and George Martin play a Steinway piano in this one. And George and Paul kind of sing this one together, and George's vocals are good on this one, and George's lyrics are good as well. See, not a bad song, quite a good song, but I kind of prefer I Need You a bit more on this album, but still nonetheless a good song on this one. The guitar work again is great on this one as well. Then we get Tell Me What You See. This is one that's sung by John and Paul, and this is probably one of the highlights of this album. I really like the kind of John and Paul's vocal performance, and the lyrics as well are good as well. And Paul even plays an electric piano on this one as well. And definitely one I like quite a bit. It's not one that you've ever really heard that many people talk about that much again, but still a really, really good good version. Some good lyrics as well again. However black the clouds may be, in time they'll pass away. Have faith and trust and you will see God's light make bright your day. Some good lyrics, I must say. So yeah, really, really good song. One of the first ones that they did for the album. And Ringo also plays claves and maracas as well as drums. And George plays a thing called a gyro, which is like a Hispanic percussion instrument that's kind of open-ended, which the Beatles began to experiment with kind of different instruments during their recording days. Like on one recording you'd hear Ringo play a packing case and bongos on a few tracks as well. So really, really good album. Real song rather, tell me what you see, one of my favourites. Then we get I've Just Seen a Face. I've Just Seen a Face is a great one as well. Again, it made the American Rubber Soul version in 1965. Really good song. I like Paul's vocals and lyrics. And Paul began this song under the title of Auntie Gin's Theme, which was in reference to his Aunt Virginia, who was the sister of his dad. But he added fast-paced lyrics, which may have been inspired by his relationship with Jane Asher at the time. And I really like the falling, yes I am falling, and she keeps calling me back again. Those kind of lyrics, and I quite like the song as well. It's one of my favourite songs. I like the way the songs with the guitar starts do 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 do, like a kind of Spanish lick to it a little. So yeah, really good song, one that I really like. And Paul has played this one live. He did this one during the Wings Over America tour in '76, and he also played it on the Unplugged album in in 91, and even played it a few times in 2004 and during the 2011 to 12 On the Run tour. And it was also included in the Paul McCartney and Red Square DVD as well. So one that Paul McCartney has often played live. And on the Saturday Night Live 40th anniversary special, Paul played this in a duet with Paul Simon, which is very cool. I didn't realise that until just there. Then we get Yesterday. Now, Yesterday is considered a favourite amongst many in the Beatles and Paul McCartney catalogue. It's definitely one of mine. It's a really, really lovely song. It started off under the title of Scrambled Eggs, but then it became Yesterday. It's just Paul and the acoustic guitar and a string quartet as well. It's just a really, really nice song. And it's been one of the most covered songs of all time, done by Ray Charles, Elvis Presley, loads of people over the years. And the song was in one of the most recorded songs in history of popular music. It's been the most covered of the Beatles songs, as stated earlier. It won the Ivor Novello Award for Outstanding Song of 1965. And Rolling Stone puts it on the 500 Greatest Songs of All Time in 2004, and the list of the 100 Beatles' greatest songs. And Yesterday was voted Best Song in the 20th Century in a 1999 BBC Radio 2 poll. And Chuck Berry has said that this is one he wished he wrote. So yeah, and I said it's been covered by loads of people, which I'll just get up. If I can look who covered it. This video is kind of it should be covers. People like Michael Bolton as well have covered it. Ray Charles, Frank Sinatra, Marvin Gaye, Ray Charles, Elvis Presley stated. Oh, Willie Nelson did it as well. Gladys Knight and the Pips. So yeah, loads of people, and it's one that Paul has often again sung on his solo tours as well. In intervening years. It wasn't issued as a single in the UK, but it was released as a single in America, which I have here. And this is a 1976, I think, repress on the Orange Capitol label. And it got Act Natural on the B-side. But I do have the EP. I recently bought the EP of that, which I'll just get up. Which I recently got, which will be one of my next vinyl updates coming up. Let me see. It was also the title song of an EP in. Yep, here it is. It was the title song of the of an EP in March of '66. So yeah, that's that one. So yeah. Greatest song there, Yesterday, a real highlight and one of my favourite Beatles and Paul McCartney songs. Then we get Dizzy Miss Lizzy. Now this is the second of the two cover songs, and Dizzy Miss Lizzy was originally a Larry Williams song, and this is one that John sings great. I like the guitar, the way it starts off. Ringo's drum and beat is great, and John gives a great vocal performance as well. Just really great. One of my favourite Beatle cover songs, and this would be the last album where cover versions would be on a Beatles album, because after Rubber Soul they never recorded any really more cover songs. But yeah, really, really great song, Dizzy Miss Lizzy. One of my personal highlights of a Beatles song. Even though it wasn't written by them, it's still one of my personal favourites. One of my favourite Beatles covers, alongside things like Money, Twist and Shout, things like Soldier of Love that they did on the live at the BBC. And it was even one that the Beatles played on the 65 tour. You can hear it on the Shea Stadium film and on the Hollywood Bowl live album. So yeah, really, really great way to close off the album, Dizzy Miss Lizzy. One of my favourite Beatles covers and one of my favourite songs in general. So yeah, really great one. And also, so that's the album reviewed. I'm now going to show one other album that's kind of related to the album. It's this album, The Beatles 6, released in 1965. This was one of the American albums that they released. And this has a few songs from Help, which are You Like Me Too Much, Tell Me What You See, and Dizzy Miss Lizzy, as well as Yes It Is. So it has a few songs from Help before Help came out in the August in the UK. That came out in the June. This one is a kind of late 70s pressing on the Purple Capitol label. It's a Canadian copy, but still nice to have. So, and on a side note as well, there was some other material the Beatles had recorded during the sessions that never made the cut. And there were two originals. One was If You've Got Trouble, originally sung by Ringo, which wasn't deemed good enough for release at the time, and naturally took its place instead. And a song called That Means a Lot, which was a song that Paul sung, but both of them wouldn't see release until the Anthology 2 album in 1996. So, that's that's it for this review. The album gets a 10 out of 10. Really great album. But then again, all the Beatles albums get a 10 out of 10 because, you know, it's the Beatles. This album, the Beatles' writing's kind of starting to develop a bit. They're really relying on covers a lot less now. So yeah, really great album. And plus George gets a few highlights in the album, as do John and Paul. So yeah, really good album. One of my favourites, and one that you don't hear too often getting talked about. And no matter how many years go by when I haven't heard it, it's one that I still enjoy listening to in the intervening years that pass. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you again for the next video.